Live with Bruno. Um,
Hi.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Good, good. And you?
I'm fine, thanks. So it's the second part of our life.
Okay.
As you remember, Bruno is a coach from Portugal, and I will introduce myself. My name is Alexandra. I'm an artist and also coach, but from Kazakhstan. And today the topic is how to keep relationships, like in lockdown or maybe in marriage, like in time of crisis, any crisis.
Okay.
Um, did you think about it?
Yes, I spend all my days, almost all my days, thinking about relationships, so I've thought about it many times, yes.
Okay, so what do you think? What is the most important rule, maybe to I don't know to be connected and stay in touch and not to ruin everything? Like while I mean in this quarantine, let's say.
hmm do you want to translate? We have to find the dynamic. If you want to
Yeah.
translate, translate.
Um,
Uh,
okay. Сегодня у нас лайв с Бруно. Это коуч из Португалии. Меня вы, наверное, знаете. Меня зовут Александра Али. Я художница, блогер и коуч из Казахстана. Вот. Сегодня у нас тема «Как сохранить отношения во время кризиса», то есть во время карантина, либо в течение брака, да, тоже бывают разные кризисные моменты. Вот. Об этом мы сегодня поговорим с Бруно. Okay, so let's start.
okay. First of all, I think it depends on if you're together, if you're in the
Mm-hmm.
same space, or if you're
Mm-hmm.
apart, right? Because if you're in the same space, even when you're not in a crisis, if you spend too much time together,
Yeah.
some problems can come from that. Okay.
Okay.
So to keep your also your space and to keep your, let's say, unicity is important in general.
Mm-hmm. Окей. Но Бруно говорит о том, что в любом случае, когда вы очень много времени проводите вместе, но это немножко осложняет отношения, и то есть в любом случае нужно как-то это контролировать. But why do you think that it's difficult? I mean, there are so many couples that like work from home, let's say. Yeah, they have this like freelancers, let's say, but they manage
Yes.
to stay together all the time.
So they are together all the time, maybe in different roles. So um, something to keep in mind is the role that I'm playing, but in the role of I'm the boyfriend right now, or
Mm-hmm.
the husband, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In that role, too much time can be counterproductive. But
Mm-hmm.
even if
I
people,
see.
as a general rule, I would say
Mm-hmm.
that even for people, um, it is possible to make it work, and that's what we are going to talk about. I'm just, setting the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
as a general rule, spending too much time together is not good. So if you tell me that they're working together every day and then they're together every day at night, my prediction, if they don't know how to manage that, my prediction is that it's not going to go very well.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they're emotionally not that connected at that moment.
It's possible. However, being in the presence of someone too much time
Mm-hmm.
causes um, familiarity, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
familiarity. And on the one hand, that is good. On the other hand, that can be not good because a relationship needs comfort,
Mm-hmm.
familiarity, but it also needs desire and tension, sexual tension. And when you grow familiarity and comfort too much, that's the opposite um, of the sexual tension, because sexual tension is created by not knowing, by anticipating, by
Mm-hmm.
being curious. And so there's a very fine balance you need to find.
Окей. Бруно говорит о том, что если в отношениях вы постоянно вместе, то это создает такую фамильярность, да, то есть вы настолько привыкаете друг к другу, но как бы по законам, да, вот такого баланса в отношениях, вот эта вот близость, да, и вот фамильярность, она, конечно, должна быть, но с другой стороны, именно сексуальное, да, какое-то влечение, оно возникает, когда есть какая-то дистанция, да, не совсем вот человек вам досконально знаком. И вот этот баланс, его нужно выдерживать в отношениях. Окей.
And being together too much time
Мгм.
tends to break this balance, tends to
Мгм.
take you too much in the familiarity. That's
Окей.
what happens. Even if you don't, especially if you're not aware of it, if you don't think about it and do things to prevent that from happening.
Мгм. Ну, и то есть очень важно что-то делать, чтобы избежать вот этого, а, ну, сближения, да, настолько ну, такой большой фамильярности и близости, да, чтобы сохранить как-то этот баланс. Okay, can we give like a few, I don't know, like tips for couples that are in isolation right now, how to survive, like quick tips maybe, and
Yes.
then we move to another topic.
Okay. So it all depends on your capabilities of guiding your own thoughts and emotions, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to do some things that maybe someone else isn't, and they're able to do some things that maybe I'm not. But I'm going to say things in general. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing would be um, absolutely keeping in mind when you talk to that person. This is a sentence that I usually say: when you talk to the person you love, remember that they are the person
Mm-hmm.
you love. So before doing anything, before acting um, from your programs, your habits,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're at home together in this time,
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to what you want to build. So look at that person as the person that you love and treat them like that, and not as, whatever comes to mind.
Okay. Ну, первое правило — это всегда помните, что перед вами человек, которого вы любите. И когда вы с ним общаетесь, не забывайте про это. Вот это вот основное. Окей. The next.
Okay, so this would be one of the things. And if you can, think or remember, for example, uh, the time when you met. Think about how you felt with that
Мгм.
person at the time where you met, when you met.
Мгм.
So another thing to do, and this is
Мгм.
in general, not just for um, not just for this period, but when you are together with your partner. Many times what happens is that you go to bed or spend too much time together only in that familiarity, without keeping alive the sexual tension and the sexual passion.
Мгм.
And so another thing to do is, at least when you go to bed, at least when you go to bed, or when you look at them at least once a day, think of them sexually. Like, desire them for a bit. Imagine them like when you felt before having sex with them for the first time, for example. Do something just a little bit sexual in your mind, and you don't need to have sex with them every day, but at least give one kiss with this intention in mind, with the intention of, I'm gonna do so many things to you, just one kiss
Мгм.
like that can change a lot. So that's another tip.
So I'm sorry, you have to work on yourself and like think about it yourself. So it's like you have to do it like I don't know, like create this idea in your mind. So you have like I don't know to make this um, well overcome yourself and just work on it, right?
Basically, um, over the point here is, everyone can do this right now, and if you can't, you probably have a problem in your relationship,
Okay.
because
Okay.
everyone can do this right now, which is close your eyes. At the
Mm-hmm.
beginning it may be strange because you never did this, and
Mm-hmm.
just imagine what it was like. How did you feel when you saw that person for the first time, when
Okay.
you already desired them? Just
Mm-hmm.
imagine that. How were they dressed? How did they smell like? What did you want to do? And with that intention, give them a kiss, you know, with
Okay.
that in mind.
Okay. Ну, в общем, второй совет — это вам нужно вспомнить, как вы встретились, да, ваши первые свидания, когда у вас было сексуальное желание к этому партнеру. Вот вспомните вот это состояние, ваши чувства, может быть, если вам надо закрыть глаза и представить его как желанный такой сексуальный объект, и подойти и поцеловать его с этим чувством. Ну, то есть вам нужно вызывать это в себе самой или самому, если вы парень. Окей.
So, for example, I'm going to ask you this, and this is true for everybody in
Мгм.
every relationship that is a long-term relationship. Growing many times in a relationship, long-term, there are days in which you are tired. There are days in which you don't feel like, you know, cultivating that sexual desire, that which distinguishes a sexual loving relationship from a friendship, you know, and you forget about this. Like, you go through life, and today I'm too tired, tomorrow I have a headache, the other day I had a tough day, I just need to rest. And what happens is you go to bed with the person you love, but you don't do anything sexual, right?
Мгм.
Okay.
Because you're
So now
tired.
you're tired, you're not in the right mindset.
Мгм.
It just, you know, and sometimes it's you, other times it's the other person, and it is what it is. And I ask you this: growing up, when you were little, you know, just a kid, growing up, who are the people you went to bed with and didn't have anything sexual with?
Parents.
Parents, for example. So what happens when you start to do this for a long time, you start unconsciously associating this person you're with to that familiarity of
Мгм.
almost a parent or a sibling or a friend. And of course, this doesn't happen one day to the next. It happens in the long run. And what happens then is what I'm just saying. You start to associate this person more with
Мгм.
family than
Мгм.
with a sexual partner that I have.
Мгм.
And so
Okay.
that's something to avoid.
So you also have to figure out it before you go to sleep with the partner, yeah? That
So
you
before you go to
think
sleep,
think
for
about it, you're
example,
attracted already to him. Yeah.
yeah, just think,
Ну, то
yeah,
есть, sorry.
and give them a kiss, at least a kiss, but a kiss with that energy, with the energy of, I, and this is, you know, we can use adult language here, right? So
Yeah.
a kiss with the thought of, you know, I would make you, I would take you to the moon and, you know, and bring you back, you know, I would give you the most intense orgasm of your life right now, if
Okay.
we wanted.
Ну и вот следующий совет — это то, что когда вы даже там идете ложиться спать, например, у вас был тяжелый день, вы не в настроении, у вас мысли там посвящены каким-то проблемам, работе, или вы просто устали, то вы должны как бы лечь в состоянии таком, вы должны вспомнить как бы этого человека и подумать о том, что все-таки он желанный для вас сексуальный объект. И поцеловать его, например, ну, в таком состоянии. Потому что вот это как раз тот момент, который в парах, которые долгое время живут вместе, и постепенно они становятся настолько родными людьми, что вот это вот притяжение сексуальное, оно пропадает, и, соответственно, какое у нас отношение к человеку, с которым мы спим, но вот в детстве, да, кто были эти люди, с кем мы спали, но не испытывали сексуального влечения. Наверняка это были ваши родители. Соответственно, и к партнеру, или там родственники, там детки, не знаю, или друзья, да. Соответственно, у вас и к партнеру вот появляется вот такое же чувство. И чтобы его не было, чтобы вы по-прежнему, да, относились к нему как к мужчине или как к женщине, да, если вы мужчина, то нужно вот в себе вызывать вот это ощущение сексуального притяжения к этому человеку, как в первый раз. И, соответственно, из этого уже делать какие-то действия, например, поцеловать его. Okay. That's the tips for the couples that are in isolation now, that are together
There
in
are,
marriage.
yes, there are more. There's at least one more that I
Okay,
can think of if you
yeah,
want.
please.
So what's gonna happen when you're with someone for a long time? As we talked a little bit in the end of the last talk, you're dealing with someone that is different from you.
Mm-hmm.
You're different people, and that's okay. So what's going to happen is that the little things that happen in your normal life,
Mm-hmm.
when you are together for, just a couple of hours, now that you're together for all day, are going to happen
Mm-hmm.
probably a bit more. So the little things that annoy you about them, that you don't like about them, are
Mm-hmm.
going to be more present. The little things that, leaving the, I don't know, the towel in the wrong place, from the
Yeah.
shower, or whatever it is. And so, uh, it's not easy, but absolutely something you must do is keep yourself in check. And by this, I mean you need to understand before you direct any word at the other person what your intention is and what you are about to create. Because we just speak about, there's this on the floor. Did this again? I told you 100 times. This starts to create, let's say, a vicious cycle in
Mm-hmm.
which people start to be aggressive towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
And in an environment like this, where you cannot go away, in that state in which you're feeling annoyed or angry or whatever, the only thing you can see is that person in front of you. And for any psychologist, we know that association happens, like Pavlov, if you want,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So what happens? I'm angry and I'm looking at you and I'm hearing your voice. And this happens, and I cannot go away because we are in isolation. And so what happens is the
Mm-hmm.
next time it happens, again, you, again, you. And what can happen is I associate these bad emotions, if you don't control it, to that person. And
Mm-hmm.
without realizing it, you just turned your lover into the stimulus for your bad mood.
Mm-hmm. Ну, то есть еще один очень важный совет и фактор, когда вы, например, в изоляции со своим партнером или просто с мужем проводите очень много времени вместе, то, что постепенно, да, вы начинаете все ваши негативные эмоции ассоциировать с этим человеком. Это происходит автоматически. И, например, он там, не знаю, не убрал полотенце, еще что-то сделал. В этот момент вам нужно контролировать свое состояние и свою злость. И вот тот момент, что если что-то у вас происходит негативное, и в нормальной жизни вы можете, например, быть на работе, да, в это время, то здесь, получается, перед вами этот человек, и вы хотите или нет, вы начинаете вот этот негатив ассоциировать с ним, потому что он у вас перед лицом. И это просто происходит автоматически, бессознательно, вы даже не поймете. То есть вам нужно стараться рядом с ним контролировать свои эмоции и не уходить в негатив, чтобы не ассоциировать это все с этим человеком. Okay, so it's like a constant work on yourself.
Everything in life is, the more you go forward, the more you realize that everything is
Mm-hmm.
inside. Everything. And then of course in relationships you need the other part, because if you're the only one who does this, but he always, or her or she always screams at you, and it's not going to work either. So it has to be the work of two people working on themselves to give their best side to
Mm-hmm.
the other person.
Mm-hmm. Ну, и это постоянно должна быть работа вас обоих. То есть, в принципе, в жизни мы все время работаем над собой. Но нужно понимать, что и ты должна работать, или ты должен, и также и твой партнер или твоя партнерша. Вот, это постоянный процесс. Okay, but if you have these negative emotions and there's like him or she's in front of you, and you control it, let's say, but what do you do afterwards? Do you have to go and do yoga, let's say, or like do sport to get rid of these emotions? Because like you should do something about it. You cannot keep it inside. I mean, it's not
Absolutely.
healthy anyway.
Yes. Because if you're closed in isolation right now, the best
Mm-hmm.
thing you can do is, the first thing, take them out of your sight. So don't look at them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're living in a room with 5 meters
Uh-huh.
per 5 meters, you turn yourself to the
Mm-hmm.
other wall. Okay, that's the first thing you do. And then what you
Okay.
can do, and there are several techniques. One of them, this is about state management and all this stuff. What you do is you breathe, and a
Mhm,
way to breathe would be, for example, in a constant breathing pattern. A breathing
mhm,
pattern that brings you calmness, you know? Something
mhm.
like something like this. I'll demonstrate right now so I can do it.
Okay, it's deep breathe
And
in, deep
then
breathe
I
out.
start again. Yes.
Mhm,
For at least 2 minutes. For
mhm,
at least 2 minutes. Okay? Another thing you can do is change your body. Change your body posture. It's going to happen anyways if you breathe, but you can
mhm,
do it by itself. Change your body posture. Put yourself in a position, in a different position. Go do something
mhm.
else. Okay.
Ну, и есть две техники, чтобы не держать эту агрессию внутри, да, так как мы не должны выплескивать это на человека и просто даже направлять на человека. Во-первых, вы можете отвернуться, просто не смотрите на него в этот момент, если даже вы в маленькой комнате вместе, просто развернитесь и смотрите, не знаю, на стену. Вот. И следующее, это вам нужно что-то изменить, например, в дыхании. То есть это вдыхать долго, задерживать, ну, не задерживать дыхание, а вы делаете вдох на 10 счетов, делаете медленный выдох также на 10 счетов. И в течение 2 минут вам нужно так подышать, вот иначе, да, то есть медленный вдох, медленный выдох, медленный вдох, медленный выдох, и вы успокоитесь. Либо поменять позу, например, да, абсолютно что-то сменить, чтобы также сменить свое состояние. Окей.
What? Yes. While you're breathing like that, looking at the wall, looking at whatever
Мгм,
you want, not looking at them, what you're
мгм,
thinking about is not what happened. Okay? What you're thinking about there is going to have to be, what is my intention for this relationship? What do I
мгм,
want from this? What do I want to bring
мгм.
here? Do I
Окей.
want to be
И
unhappy, angry, whatever, or do I want to be happy with this person? I want to give them the best. And I want you to think about that intention. My intention is to build the best relationship I can. And you have to have this in mind,
мгм,
and the other person as well.
окей. Ну и самое главное, что пока вы там смотрите в эту стену или делаете эти упражнения по дыханию, то вы должны думать о том, что какое у меня намерение на самом деле истинное. То есть я хочу отношения с этим человеком построить, он для меня дорог, близок, ну, либо что, я хочу быть счастлива с ним. Если там ты хочешь быть счастлив с этой женщиной, то ты ставишь это на первое место, да, свое намерение. Соответственно, у тебя вот эта вот агрессия, и все спадает. Ты понимаешь, для чего ты это делаешь, что есть что-то более высшее намерение. И, соответственно, у партнера должно быть то же самое. Окей. Do you
Okay.
negotiate about it? Do you discuss it with a partner?
What?
Like, my intention is to be happy with you and to live like a long
Absolutely.
life, like yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is conflict resolution 101. It's the most important thing
But isn't it something
because
that sorry? Isn't it something that
go go.
let me ask? Um, isn't it something that will happen like naturally? That you both supposed to think that way? No, do you have to really like say it out loud?
Um, it should happen naturally. In a perfect
Yeah.
reality, it would happen naturally, but the point is,
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't. Just like in a perfect reality, you would always have time
Mm-hmm.
for each other. You would always spend good time with each other. And in reality, that doesn't happen because you're tired, because the work was tough, and whatever. So, what should be and what would be natural is one thing, and what actually happens is another. So, we need to, with discipline, create what we want to create, because without realizing it, we are going to go into our unconscious patterns, to the things we learned from our families when we were younger, without realizing it, we're going to start putting those behaviors out, and then we surprise ourselves that our relationship is just like the ones we saw when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, a conflict resolution technique is absolutely to let the person know this. And of course, this has to be done when you probably are both calm in a way that you can understand it. And I'll tell you, look, uh, Alexandra, right? My intention, here is really just to do or to create the best thing I can with you because I really like you. You're someone that I've never met someone like you before. And this relationship is really important to me. When I did what I did before, my intention was to make our relationship get better. But apparently it didn't, and it upset you, and I'm sorry. So, what would be some way that we can, you see where I'm going? This is the pattern.
Yeah,
If
I
I
know this
tell you,
pattern, but you're good at this. I mean,
yes,
not every man knows it. Like, it's a
of
very good
course, of
pattern
course,
to.
yes, this is something, of course, this is a technique I'm teaching.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on the behavior the other person did, you're going to focus on their intention.
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't scream at me because you don't like me. You screamed at me because probably um, I reminded you of something or whatever it is. Your intention
Yeah.
with me is to have the best relationship possible. And I need to keep that in
Mm-hmm.
mind. If it's true, if it's not true, then I shouldn't even be in a relationship with you.
Mm-hmm. Ну, и основное, что это постоянно держать в голове, какое у вас, ну, ваше общее, да, главное намерение. И в идеальном мире, как бы, оно должно совпадать автоматически. Вы даже не должны его проговаривать. Но так уж случается, что у нас не все идеально, и не всегда все происходит так, как должно быть. Соответственно, это нужно проговорить. И сказать, если даже там что-то случилось, человек как-то отреагировал, сказать ему о том, что, ну, ты там замечательный партнер, я тебя очень люблю, но ты, возможно, так отреагировал, потому что ты вообще вспомнил какую-то ситуацию, не потому что там ты не любишь меня или там ты был зол на меня, а может быть что-то всплыло там в твоем сознании, да, но ты для меня дорог, и, ну, проговорить, что для вас важно, да, как вы видите, да, свои отношения. Okay, so if this like conflict happened, that anyway, you should talk about it afterwards when you both are calm. Yeah, but is it normal to
Yeah.
talk about it before? Like in general, like is it normal to talk about the rules? Because there's this opinion that who's in a weaker position, he's discussing all the rules, and if you're okay and calm and like 100% like I mean have like good self-esteem, you wouldn't really discuss these sorts of things.
Okay, that's a nice complex equivalence. So,
like where are we going, like what kind of relationship are we like in, this, like if it's exclusive relationships or not, like things like that.
yeah, yeah. So the the it's interesting. I didn't have this equivalence that you just told me. Only the weak people or the people who are the reacher for the other person, only they
Yeah,
discuss the
positions.
rules. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't observe that, but let's say that it happens and why it happens. Um, well, first of all, it's important to say this. Um, Whoever believes this idea, okay, if you believe this idea, um, my question is how useful it is for you. How useful it is, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It matters if it's useful in building the relationship you want, and I can assure you that it isn't. So that's the first thing. The idea is not real. If you want, translate that, and then I'm gonna go and dissect the idea so that everyone sees that it's not real. Okay?
Я сейчас подняла такой вопрос, что бывают разные позиции в отношениях, у кого-то более сильная, у кого-то более слабая. И человек, который инициирует этот вопрос, давай там выведем себе вот свод законов, наших правил в отношениях, то, возможно, он в более слабой позиции, у него не все в порядке с уверенностью, и, соответственно, он как бы заботится об этом, переживает, и поэтому пытается это все проговорить. Но по факту это важно проговорить, соответственно, ну, как бы тут не имеет значения, насколько, в какой вы позиции, да, это просто важно проговорить, то есть это не сильно влияет на этот факт. А в отношениях вот именно разговор и вот договоренности, они очень важны. Окей.
Okay. So, will who has, let me give an example so it becomes clear why the idea is not real. I want to think an example everyone can have. Well, think about a lion, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Think about a lion,
Mm-hmm.
the king of the jungle, right? There are things that other animals, know that they cannot do around the lion. They know it. The only difference is that the lion is not, let's say, uh, uh, he's going to act in a way that if you cross a line, probably the consequences for you are going to be very, very harsh. You're probably dead, maybe. So the point is, the person who thinks they are weak or whatever, it's not that they need the rules more than the lion, more than the person who is strong. The only difference is they feel that if the other person, if they don't follow the rules of the other person, it's over. Like, it's over. So they're afraid of stepping in the rules of the other person because, like the lion, they're just not going to have it. What I would say is, all of us should be a little bit like the lion. Not that we are the strongest beings ever, but that we know very well what we, as we talked last time, what we don't accept. And this is just to say, in regards to what you told me before, uh, the strong people, they have rules, but they're usually so they're usually, let's say, more implicit, because you cannot cross that line. You know that very well. And so you don't even go there. It's not that they don't have rules. They just feel, maybe, that they don't need to tell them to you. And if you just cross them, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a healthy relationship, because you are not doing some things, maybe, because you're afraid of crossing that line. But you don't know what that line is because it's ambiguous. And so, even for the lion, it would be better to discuss the rules with the other people for a very simple reason, because my rules will give you a sense of safety. This is very interesting.
Let me
If
translate
you,
it.
of course,
You're
yes.
asking.
Translate only this last part. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Ну, смотрите, он привел метафору со львом, да, то, что лев — это царь зверей, он самый сильный. Ну, как бы это не значит, да, что нет каких-то правил. Ну, и опять же, в отношениях, независимо от того, слабой ты или сильной позиции, вот если ты в сильной позиции, в принципе, если ты сильный человек, у тебя есть эти правила. Просто другие люди, они, как правило, их чувствуют, и они боятся, и они их не нарушают. То есть ты их не озвучиваешь, но они есть. Но тут момент такой, что ты можешь быть в слабой позиции, и ты просто чего-то не делаешь, потому что ты боишься. Но по факту это даже не озвучено. И было бы хорошо как раз-таки проговорить это. И как бы нужно где-то быть вот как этот лев, ну, сильным в том плане, что у тебя должны быть свои правила, на которые ты опираешься. И их нарушать ты сам не можешь, да, то есть быть верным себе в какой-то степени. И, соответственно, твой партнер будет также, да, относиться, если вы это все проговорите. Okay, so, yeah, you can continue.
Okay. So I was going where? Let me remember. I was going to the point of saying, when we establish the rules and we talk about them, then it gives both people a sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because when I know, what's the deal, I can
Mm-hmm.
accept it or not. But if I accept the deal and if I say, okay, until I decide otherwise, I'm going to follow your rules, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to respect what you don't accept, which is what we're saying, um, then you know, and you have a sense of freedom and security because you know that unless you do that, everything is fine. I mean, you know exactly what things you should avoid if you want to have that person and be with that person. So it gives you a sense of security in knowing that whatever you do outside of those things, everything you do that is not those things, you're fine. It's okay. And why is it important for both people to establish these things?
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to give this sense of security and freedom in a way to the
Mm-hmm.
other person, and both of you should feel this. Um, when a lion, let's say, doesn't speak his rules and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
say what rules he has or she has, um, what's going to happen is that the other person is going to be afraid to overstep. And if the other person is afraid to overstep or to do something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
there's a problem because the person is living the relationship in fear. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have fear inside that relationship, a fear that is not, you know, balanced in a way, but you're always afraid of overstepping the line, then you're probably not going to give everything you can. You're probably not going to give everything you have because in a state of fear, we are measuring our steps and we are not at the neurological level, if you want, we are not accessing our full capabilities because fear shuts down a part of us,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Окей. Ну, то есть очень важно все это проговорить и ваши правила, потому что иначе человек, который как раз-таки в той слабой позиции, он будет испытывать чувство страха постоянно, и это будет блокировать его, ну, желания, истинные потребности, то есть он, в принципе, не будет счастлив в этих отношениях. And how often do you have to do it? Okay, let's say if you're in the marriage already, but anyway, like for couples, it's easier because they probably talk once a week, and it's like normal, to talk every week, you know.
Probably. Maybe they do, but not about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the most important thing here is the same question we said last time, which is what do I not accept? What are
Mm-hmm.
some things that if the other person does, I'm not going to be with them anymore? Very,
Mm-hmm.
very freely, very relaxed saying this. You know, if you do this more times, if you start to have these behaviors, I'm not going to be with you. I'm just not. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how often should you talk about this? Well, every time you feel you have to. And when do you feel you have to? Imagine that I have told you 3 or 4 things that I don't accept,
Mm-hmm.
right? Imagine that tomorrow you do something that I
Mm-hmm.
realize I'm
Mm-hmm.
not okay with this. I don't accept this. Again, for the people who didn't listen last time, it's not about not liking. It's
Mm-hmm.
about not accepting. We all have things we don't like, but this is more than that. This is things we don't accept. So if tomorrow you do something that I don't accept, that I feel that I cannot accept, and I work on myself before I even talk to you, because the problem is almost always in me. I can solve it by myself. It's my
Mm-hmm.
past.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go and I say, okay, I try to work on it. And then I see, okay, no, this is something I really cannot accept. And I go to you and I say, look, this happened. And again, I'm not angry at you. It's just what it is. And I tell you, look, this happened and I'm not sure I can accept this. So please don't do this again.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, um, the patience around it.
Okay.
But the point is, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, you have to translate. But the bottom line is, you talk about it as many times as you need to talk about it because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to discover yourself in that relationship. You're going to discover more things you don't like. and on other things you like that you didn't know. Okay, and then I
Ну,
need to finish this, but translate.
основная
You can
мысль
just.
то, что обязательно нужно всегда проговаривать, если вас что-то не устраивает. Я спросила, как часто, да, стоит это делать, потому что, ну, как бы, на мой взгляд, да, в паре люди, как правило, раз в неделю, они разговаривают, и вообще это очень полезно, да, открываться и говорить честно. Но так не всегда бывает, и не во всех парах так заведено. Соответственно, ну, когда человек тебе что-то говорит, что тебе не нравится, что тебе, ну, не то, что не нравится, а то, что для тебя неприемлемо, то после этого нужно обязательно это все проговорить и объяснить, что для тебя это, ну, не подходит, да, что как бы вам стоит как-то избегать этих моментов. Вот. То есть каждый раз, когда появляется необходимость, вы садитесь и разговариваете. И при этом, ну, очень важно говорить это с любовью и с терпением, да, это вот один из первых советов у нас был. Да, yeah.
Да. Okay, good.
Да.
So just to finish this, imagine that tomorrow I realize that I don't accept something that you do. Okay, something, and I go to you and I tell you, look, I'm not sure I can accept this. You know, I feel like this is something I cannot move on with. And you tell me, okay, I understand, but this is something that I need. So I don't accept not having this. And here are the real decision making moments in a relationship, because it's when I don't accept something and you don't accept not doing that, you know? And here is when we really have to sit down and realize what is more important. And in this case, usually the person who is saying I don't accept something, maybe they should be the ones working on it. And what I mean is, what do I really want to be with her? Am I willing to work on myself to overcome this so I can be with her or him? It depends, right? And so these are the true things you then need to work in a relationship, because I don't accept something, you don't accept another thing, and there are things that we just need and we want, and the other doesn't want or doesn't accept. And in this moment is when the big turn is coming, is when you have to decide and you have to be mature, to really openly talk about it and say, look, I cannot go forward like this. And the other person says, me neither. So something has to change, something has to give. Either one person changes or the other person changes or both of them change. But you're not going to change for the other person. You're going to change for you, because you want to be with them. Because if you change for the other in the future, if you break up, you're going to blame them because of the change you made. And this is not healthy. So never change like that. You change because you want to change something. You want to resolve something because you want something. Okay?
Ну и, конечно, бывает такое, что, допустим, вы проговорили, что вас не устраивает, а партнер взял и не согласился как-то по-другому себя вести. То есть он тоже говорит, а я вот по-другому не могу. И здесь вы должны основательно сесть и поговорить об этом и прийти, ну, то есть что-то уже изменится, да, после этого разговора. Потому что либо вы должны принять какие-то там условия или как-то поменяться, либо он должен поменяться. Либо вы оба можете, да, что-то изменить в себе. Но не стоит меняться ради партнера. Вам нужно просто понять, что для вас на самом деле ценно. Вот это ваша привычка или, например, отношения с этим партнером. Если отношения для вас важны, то тогда, да, стоит поменяться. Но не делайте это для партнера, потому что если вы расстанетесь, то у вас будет ощущение, что вот вы поменялись ради него, что это он во всем виноват. Но на самом деле, если вы поменяете здесь что-то в себе, то вы поменяете это для себя, чтобы сохранить эти отношения, потому что они для вас, именно для вас важны.
Okay. Yeah, so basically that's the end of that.
But what about like value? Let's say, okay, if there are people like they're in marriage for like many years, and yeah, they're valuable for each other, so maybe they will change because it's important for them. But if it's only beginning, and they are not that valuable. I mean, they have some sort of I don't know, like attractions towards each other, but it's not like, I mean, there should be time, right? So
I mean, time is a factor here in terms of
mhm,
people who already know they want to be with someone because they're married
mhm,
or whatever. Maybe they will change, as you were saying. You'd be surprised how it's the other way around. When
mhm,
later in life or later in the marriage, you're not actually willing to compromise, and in the beginning, you actually are. So,
uh-huh,
um,
okay,
the most important idea is that in the beginning of a relationship, the first year and a half to 2 years, the first year to 2 years, so from the 1 year to the 2 years, more or less, in that beginning, your body is is under the effect of powerful chemistry,
yeah,
very powerful chemistry. And if you already, before that relationship, you write down what you don't accept and you know yourself well enough, okay? And be careful, because when you go into those chemicals, when you fall in love, you're going to forget your priorities, you're going to forget your values, you're going to forget everything. The other person is the only important thing. Okay, in your
mhm,
brain they are just like cocaine, and
mhm,
this is a scientific study. It proves that uh, our brain works when we're in love. It activates very similar areas than when we are um, under the effect of cocaine.
mhm.
So would you trust an addict? Would you trust someone who is under the effects? No, more, who is who's a drug addict? Would you trust them the same way you would trust another person?
Okay. Ну,
I
и здесь,
wouldn't, right? What?
yeah,
So I'm going to say I wouldn't, at least the same way, because I know that their brain is not working the same way. And so you cannot trust yourself in the beginning of a relationship because you are that drug addict in that moment.
mhm,
So you cannot trust that you're going to make the right decisions. And that's why it's important to know that, to know what you accept and what you don't accept before you start. That's why it's
mhm,
important, as we talked last time, to speak in the beginning and to show the other person who you are in the beginning, not who you are in that moment, but who you know you are,
mhm.
because okay.
Ну и такой момент, что, возможно, люди, ну, как бы становятся важны и более ценны друг для друга в браке, да, после нескольких лет. Но вот Бруно говорит о том, что на нас, наоборот, в самом начале отношений мы находимся в таком состоянии опьяненном немножко, просто под действием, да, определенных гормонов. И, соответственно, вначале мы как раз-таки можем измениться намного охотнее, чем после там 3-4 лет брака. Но единственный момент, что в это время у вас отключается мозг, и вот все ваши правила, то есть вы готовы уступить просто во всем. Но вам нужно все-таки помнить о ваших правилах, которые вы прописали до этого, пока вы там не влюбились, у вас нет этих бабочек в животе, вот, чтобы озвучить это партнеру. Окей,
Да.
да.
Okay. Okay, good. Um, yeah, so basically that was my answer. So people change in the beginning or later. It actually depends. Many times you're most likely to change in the beginning,
Мгм,
but you need to know what you want to change for, or
мгм,
or what you need. And for
мгм,
that, you need to be aware of yourself. You need to explore yourself
мгм,
before that happens, or
мгм.
after it happens. That's fine for the next time. Uh, but yeah, that's it.
Ну, то есть самое главное все-таки, во-первых, люди больше меняются в начале отношений, чем в конце. Ну и основное это знать правила для себя. То, что мы обсуждали в нашем первом эфире, можете посмотреть, он есть в IGTV на Ютубе. Вот, что нужно знать вообще, чего ты хочешь, кто ты такой, какие у тебя правила. The second topic I wanted to talk about was long distance relationships, because there are also people
Oh
like
yes.
locked down in different countries. They
Yes.
have to maintain these long distance relationships like never before. um,
Yeah.
and probably we're not gonna have time, but we can like start maybe this topic and then
Of course.
share with it.
Of course. Of course, you know, we have a lot of things to cover, even because about what I just said,
Yeah.
there are a lot more answers that I could give and
Mm-hmm.
that you could give about, you know, the time of the relationship and where do you compromise and where you don't. Because of course in the beginning when you just met someone, maybe it's not the time to change who you are, you know, or maybe it is. It depends in the case. So there would be a couple of other answers there, but the one we gave was good enough for now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
about about what you're saying right now, which is long distance relationships. I actually have a video on YouTube that I made for long distance relationships. I did it like 2 years ago, or no, maybe 3 years ago, and since then my opinion has changed a bit.
Wow.
So uh, before I said in that video, I said something I still believe in, which is if you have the intention, the firm intention of being with that person, if you do, then anything can work. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean is this: there is no way two people with the same very strong intention of being together, there's nothing that can stop them from doing it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first idea to have in mind. If you really want that person and they want you too, really much, then anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's the first thing.
Первая вещь это то, что если два партнера на самом деле хотят быть вместе, но они на расстоянии, они в любом случае будут. То есть, ну, желание, если есть сильное, то как бы все остальное, любые факторы, они не важны. Это первое. Окей.
Of course, sometimes love is not enough. I mean,
Мгм.
I can love someone and want to be with them, but I need to also be mature enough to realize that we just don't work together, you know?
Мгм.
And that's a very hard thing to do. Um, we can try to work together, and if we have the firm intention of doing it, we can. But
Мгм.
other times, it would be more natural just to realize that we are not, compatible, at least right now. So that's just something to add to what I said. But in a long distance relationship, the most important thing is going to be the intention. I want to stay with you. I want you.
Мгм.
And then, of course, you need to know the rules, what we already talked about, what the other person doesn't accept.
Мгм. Ну и в отношениях на расстоянии, то есть тоже может быть такой момент, что вы можете понять, что вы просто не подходите друг другу. И, ну, это просто добавить нужно к первому пункту, что и это занимает какое-то время, то есть осознание, что, возможно, просто эти отношения для вас не работают, и даже меняться здесь не надо, просто вы как бы не подходите. Yeah.
The second step is in a long distance relationship for it to work is communication. You need to have a good communication. And by good, I mean that you need to both express what you feel, what you like, what you don't like, and you need to know how to solve conflicts. And so you need to know how to use communication in a way that not only you solve conflicts that can emerge, just like we showed before. How do you solve conflicts in terms of communication? One of the ways is going to the intention. We want the same thing, so let's make this work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one thing. The other thing is you can, with your communication, and for this, maybe you can study, you can learn some things. You need to learn how to make yourself um, be more close to the other person with your language. You know, what things the other person likes to hear. How many times a day, Alexandra, do you need to hear that if we were in a relationship, that I like you, that I really value you? How many times a day? Maybe you don't know this yet, but you have a feel for it. You know if you only need it once, if you need it once a week or once a month. But every one of us has this internal sensation of how much we feel this, how much we want this. And this is just an example of a communication, which is, I love you, for example. You know how many times you need this, and me as your partner, I need to know that. And the way I know that is not only asking you, but also testing, right? I I test, I say a bit more, I say a bit less, and I see which one you like more. Because that's going to be so important, even in everyday life.
Мгм. Ну, Бруно говорит о том, что также важна коммуникация, и, ну, важно как бы закрывать какие-то потребности человека, и нужно понимать со временем вообще, сколько раз в день, например, ваш партнер должен слышать какие-то комплименты или слова, что его любят. И, возможно, он даже сам не знает, сколько ему это нужно, либо раз в неделю, либо раз в месяц, либо каждый день. Но нужно это тестить и понимать, разбираться в его потребностях, да, что ему нужно в этих отношениях. Okay, so, yeah.
And there's one step missing, which is sex
Mhm.
and sexual things. So you need to learn how to use your communication in a sexual way, because you
Mhm.
need to bring that sexual aspect into your relationship, even if you're long distance.
Mhm.
You know, at least you should. And if you don't, at least each of you should practice their own sexuality
Mhm.
by themselves. But it would be
Mhm.
interesting to create this relationship, even through messaging or a video. Of course, it depends on the people, and I don't know about privacy or that stuff. I just say that you need that part of the relationship there.
Okay.
You need that part.
It's the end, basically, of our life. Ну, и очень важная часть — это секс. То есть даже если вы на расстоянии, в любом случае вы как-то должны работать с этой темой, либо как-то коммуницировать в этой теме, либо, ну, самим решать этот вопрос, но вам нужно найти какой-то вот подход и как-то разрешить этот вопрос, потому что это тоже важно. Неважно, если даже вы на расстоянии, какое-то взаимодействие должно быть. Okay, thanks for this
Thank
live,
you.
for your answers, and we can continue. Probably we can
Yes,
continue
another
next
time
time.
when you
Yeah.
tell me.
Okay. Thank
Um,
you.
Thank you. I'm gonna learn how to speak Russian with you. I just decided that
Yeah.
today. I'm gonna learn.
Cool.
I like it.
Хорошо, спасибо.
I know. Спасибо means thank you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, good. I'm
Thanks.
starting to learn already. Okay, good. Thank you, and see you next time.
See you. Bye. Thanks.
Have a good day.
You too.